Good afternoon, or good evening, esteemed members of the hardworking Committee on Government Affairs. I am Senator Edgar Flores, proudly representing Senate District 2. And on behalf of my constituents, I am presenting Senate Bill 162. I will have co-presenting alongside of me Commissioner Tick Segerblum, as you can see on the monitor. In fact, this conversation and the genesis of this bill initiated with constituents of ours going originally to Commissioner Segerblum and eventually making its way into this building. I also have, but in the interest of being efficient, Andres Rodriguez, who's in Las Vegas, PhD student from UNLV, phenomenal friend of mine, who would also originally intended to co-present, but I will have him testify during support testimony. Before I hand it over to Commissioner Segerblum, I'd like to very quickly walk through what we are doing. I have now had the pleasure of serving in the Government Affairs Committee, specifically in the Assembly, since 2015. I was the chair in 2017, I was the chair in 2019, I was the chair in 2021, and now I am the chair in 2023 on the Senate side. I make that point because since 2015, there hasn't been a single session where people do not come before this very body and sit before this very committee and explain if we can request if we can change the requirements for some of these boards, particularly because there is a unfortunate reality that there's not enough folks stepping up to serve on these very important boards. And I say that because we've done many modifications, we've changed many requirements to allow for some folk to serve longer because they couldn't serve anymore. And that's just, it's been a constant theme ever since I've had the pleasure of serving my constituents. I also bring up this point because in speaking with Commissioner Segerblum, and he'll elaborate further, they were hoping to appoint some great individuals to some particular boards, but unfortunately they were unable to do so because they were legal permanent residents. And I want to make a very important point. In the United States and in Nevada, non-U.S. citizens serve in our military, non-U.S. citizens are teachers, non-U.S. citizens work in the health industry, non-U.S. citizens own businesses, non-U.S. citizens partake in the most critical sectors of our economy, of what we consider essential functions for our society. They participate in all of them. And if that's the truth and that's the reality we have, then the next question is, why aren't they serving on some of our boards? I also wanted to make it abundantly clear, I do immigration law for a living. That is my passion. Immigration law is very fluid. And what I mean by that is the status of an individual is very fluid. There may be a year where you are here in the U.S. with DACA. There may be a different year where you're a legal permanent resident, and there may be a different time where you're a U.S. citizen. I use my own father as an example. My father became a U.S. citizen in 2019, but my father has done a lot for this community in Nevada, has done a lot of work in Nevada, and there is no difference between my father in 2018 and my father in 2019. His passion for Nevada is the same. So the only difference was whether or not he was a citizen, and whether or not he could have served on the board would have differed based on the year, just because he became a citizen. So I wanted to put that out there. So what the bill does, it eliminates the requirement that a member of a town advisory board or citizens advisory council be a qualified elector, and a qualified elector is a U.S. citizen over the age of 18 who is a resident. And that's the purpose, that's the objective, that's what we're trying to accomplish here. Before we open it up for questions, I'd like to hand over the presentation to Commissioner Segerblum, which I need to say thank you, Commissioner. I understand you're obviously overwhelmed with everything you're doing, and I appreciate you waiting this out with us. So thank you, and I appreciate you co-presenting this with me.